Welcome to Lesson 4 in Unit 20, What Energy Does. In this lesson, students will answer the question, how does speed affect energy transfer in a collision? In the previous lesson, students discussed how energy is transferred in a collision. Now they will relate speed to energy by observing the motion before and after a collision. Students will also observe a demonstration to determine if a faster moving ball will transfer more sound energy. Students will come to understand that the higher the speed, the more energy is transferred and transformed. A faster ball will create a bigger change in motion and create a louder noise during a collision. Rubbing hands together faster will transfer more energy to heat as well. In the engage portion of this lesson, ask the class, what does speed have to do with energy? When you run faster, do you think you use more or less energy? Take all student responses at this point. In the explore portion of this lesson, give students time to discuss these question prompts with a partner. Take a few student responses and record them for students to see. This should be a review of Lesson 3 in which students discovered that energy is transferred during collisions. Tell students that this investigation is designed to see changes in energy due to change in speed as objects interact. Discuss the independent and dependent variable with students. Have them record their thoughts on energy and speed in collisions found on student page 13. Look for student responses indicating that the independent variable is speed. In order to change the speed, students will change the height of the ramp. The more steep the ramp, the faster the ball should be moving when it collides with the other ball at the end of the ramp. The dependent variable is energy transferred, which will be measured by finding the relative motion of the moving balls. Next, place students into 6 groups. Each group will need 2 of the same type ball, either golf ball, bouncy ball, or tennis ball. They will also need enough books or blocks to build a ramp using the plastic rulers. Students will observe how far the rolling ball travels after the collision, how far the ball at the bottom of the ramp travels after the collision, if a high or low ramp produces the fastest moving balls, and what they can hear and see. Students should record their observations on student page 14. After groups have had a chance to do the investigation and record their data, students should answer the questions on energy and speed in collision analysis page. After all groups write their answers, take the time to review exemplary responses and have students update their answers if necessary. Guidance can be found in the teacher pages. In the explain portion of this lesson, you will display a simulation to the class called the Energy Skate Park. Follow the directions and discussion prompts in the lesson plan to facilitate how this visual information shows the relationship between speed and energy. After reviewing responses to the analysis questions on their student page, ask students the questions shown here. Students should be figuring out that the higher an object is, the more energy there is in the system. Raising an object higher in the air is similar to pulling the car back farther. More energy is added to the system. You may want to introduce the idea of potential energy here only if it comes up in the course of discussion, because stored energy is not found in the science standards until middle school. Next, have students complete the sheet, What Happens to Objects When They Fall, just the explain portion found on the bottom of student page 15. This is a short passage with data. Ask students, how does the height the ball is dropped affect the speed of the ball? How does this support the data we collected in our previous experiment? Teacher guidance can be found on teacher page 19. In the elaborate portion of this lesson, students will view the Sabian gong video from Memphis Drum Shop. Tell students that the gong is an African, East, and Southeast Asian musical percussion instrument. Ask students these question prompts and take a few student responses. They should start to connect the idea that the faster you swing the mallet, the louder the sound, and the slower you swing the mallet, the softer the sound. Demonstrate this concept for students. Drop a bouncy ball from knee height on a plastic plate that is upside down on the ground. Ask students to describe the sound they heard. Then, drop a bouncy ball from shoulder height onto a plastic plate that is upside down on the ground. Ask students to then describe the sound they heard. Drop a bouncy ball from above your head onto a plastic plate that is upside down on the ground. Ask the students to then describe the sound they heard. Students should relate this to energy by noting that the louder the sound, the more energy there is, and vice versa. Next, ask students, what happens to the temperature of your hands as you change the speed of rubbing? Give students time to make a prediction, then have students try it. You could even have students actually take the temperature of their hands after each trial for more quantitative data. Students should notice that the faster they rub their hands, the more energy in the form of heat is present. They may also notice a similar phenomenon when they erase something on a piece of paper. The faster they erase, the warmer the paper will be. It is a good time to introduce students to the concept of friction, which is the force that one surface, such as your hand, exerts on another, such as your other hand, when the two rub against each other. The faster you rub your hands together, the more friction that is produced, which causes energy to transform from motion to heat. Remind students that the faster objects collide, for instance, ball with plate, hand with hand, the more energy is transferred, ball to plate, hand to hand, and transformed, motion to sound, or motion to heat. In the evaluate portion of this lesson, tell students that now that they have learned about speed and energy, they will apply this knowledge to consider the best solution in a game of bowling. Have students complete the Speed and Collisions Evaluate. Guidance is found on teacher pages 20 through 21. By the end of this lesson, students will come to understand that the higher the speed, the more energy is transferred and transformed. A faster ball will create a bigger change in motion and create a louder noise during a collision. Rubbing hands together faster will transfer more energy to heat. This lesson gives students the ability to plan and conduct their own investigation and the ability to adjust an object's energy by manipulating the speed. Students will be able to use this skill when building their machine to solve a problem in Lesson 9.